Is that you guys? What the heck? I didn't think we were on the camera. I just got locked on my car. Alright guys, welcome to Brian Ninja, another video. I hope you appreciated the opening. I got locked on my car for 2 weeks. That's why we're so late with this review. I was stuck out my driveway for 2 weeks trying to get in this car, but we finally cracked the code and got in here, thankfully. So now we can do the review. And hopefully I can still remember the episode since I watched it so long ago, 1 hour ago. But let's see how it goes. We're gonna... Okay, now my lighting for that grand intro, I have to fix it because it's gonna be weird. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, first of all, we have the racing format, week 2, very similar. I mean, the same course, the same structure, everything. The first course, like the primary course of the episode again, was the shrinking steps, the, what's the second obstacle? Wait a second, what the heck? The shrinking steps, the swimming frames, the pole grasper, the salmon ladder, the floating monkey bars, and the piston plunge. That's the first course and the main course of the episode. So we had a lot of races on that. The first race was Lucas Reali and his competitor Joe Morosky. They did a story on Lucas's dad that I didn't know. Maybe I did in the past, but I couldn't remember it. But that his dad, the first day that Lucas ever went to a ninja gym, his dad passed away. He committed suicide, so that was a tough story for sure. But he said that he kind of saw it as like the end of. Obviously, he lost a very important family member, but he gained like a new group through the ninja gym. So it's kind of like very sad, obviously, but also I guess he was able to kind of make a positive association with it in terms of like starting something new in memory of his dad. So I appreciate that story. And now he's doing a lot of stuff with ninja, obviously, and he's been there for a long time. So that's, I mean, making the best of something that's really awful. So I respect it. But the first race was very interesting. So interesting that I saw it 3 times. But because first of all, I was like in somewhere and I just happened to see like in the background this was on. So I saw this race in the background, even though I wasn't trying to watch it for real yet. Then I watched it like a few days later at my grandma's house and I started watching it. But again, like the last review, I started watching it like the first half with her. But then eventually like she went to bed. So I didn't want to finish the episode without her because my grandma wanted to finish the episode. But like she goes to bed before me. So I was like, okay, I'll wait for next week. But then I haven't been down there to visit this week because I've been busy. So I figured I'd just finish it tonight so I can finally get through with it. So I watched that stupid intro 3 times. I watched the first half again tonight because I didn't want to forget like the info about it. So I watched it again. I was kind of like half watching and half doing Wordle and connections on my phone. But, just to make sure I wasn't just like saying something I didn't know. So I just watched it a 3rd time just for good measure. But yeah. Anyway, it was a very good race. They both failed the piston plunge. So Lucas got there first, he failed it, and Joe was in a position to clear because he was at the end of the obstacle even though Lucas fell, and he went to the final dropping wheel thing and he missed it too, which gave the win to Lucas. So it was a very back and forth race that was exciting, but Lucas won by getting there first. And guys, I keep looking down because my email's open. I keep checking my email. Let me go to my homepage so I don't have any distractions. Well, now it's too dim. Alright, that's fine. I need to stop worrying about the lighting so much. But when I had the emails open, I kept going down to read my new emails, and it's just gonna be a distraction for me. So, okay, that was the first race. Then they had Isabel Wakeham versus Donovan Matoyer, who is like the classy ninja with the suit. I know him from the Sasuke Mania forums. He's a cool guy. He's been at it for a while. Like, I think since season 4 maybe, like on and off. But this was kind of an upset. Well, actually, no, it wasn't an upset, they point out, because Isabella had a higher seed. But, Donovan's been around for longer. But Isabel was able to win by clearing the swinging frames. Donovan's Matoyer was trying to go faster, but he failed the second obstacle by being too aggressive with his speed. So Isabel was able to win it. And yeah, they point out that she was actually the higher seed, so this isn't like an upset. But yeah, it was interesting to see though. Then they had a fast forward of Jay Lewis versus Rachel DeGuts. Jay Lewis won and Rachel failed the monkey bars. I believe that's what I meant by bars when I wrote this here. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, Jay Lewis won the first race in a fast forward. Then they had Kai Beckstrom versus Jesse Graff. When I watched this with my grandma, she was very excited because I think Jesse Graff is probably her favorite competitor, at least like of modern time. So she was very happy to see Jesse Graff. And Beckstrom won, but Jesse also had a very good run and made it through as well. But I think, yeah, she made it through this run as well. So it was good, but Kai went faster. But they were both able to clear it, so not bad at all. Then they had a fast forward. There's only one run in that segment. That's surprising, actually, now that I think about it. But I guess they spent some time building that up, so it makes sense. But yeah, that was only one run in that segment, aside from the fast forward. But then after the break, they had another fast forward, which is Jamie Rahn versus Jason Behrens. Jason Behrens is the shortest ever to clear a course, I believe, at 4'11", or the shortest male. No, I think it's just the shortest ever, actually. But Jamie Rahn won that one. That was a fast forward. Then they also fast forward Abby Clark versus Ben Behrens, which is Jason Behrens' brother, and Ben won that one. So Ron and Ben were up one win, 1-0, and Abby and Jason were down 0-1. So that's the first races for all of them in that heat. I don't know why I'm mixing the first and last names. That's confusing. I keep calling them by either or, but yeah. Then they had Ben Behrens versus Jamie Rahn, which is the battle of the two 1-0 people from this fast forward. They both won their race, so now we have to see who pulls ahead in this race, which ended up being Ben, which is kind of not too surprising considering like these races typically, not always, but they typically favor the younger ones, or kind of the more like, kind of the whole show these days does actually. But you know, often the younger one does better than the veteran. So in this case, that was true, and Ben was able to win it. And my computer's in battery saving mode because I just charged my computer, and I don't know why it's doing that. Suspend your disbelief. I was definitely locked outside for 2 weeks, but I charged my computer while I was locked out, and it's already running low on battery. I don't know why that is, because I actually did like charge it like 3 hours ago, and it was full. I got this computer last like November, December, so I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it's low already, and it's been less than a year. So hopefully it's good, because I don't want it to be like dying already. But anyway, back to the show. Where are we at? We're at Isabel Wakeham versus Jessie Graff, which is the second race with Jessie, and my grandma was excited again. And they had a special guest in the booth, which was Casey Cannizzaro, who was obviously the first woman up the Worth Wall back in 2014, and also the first woman to clear the semifinals course, also in 2014. And that remained true for 5 years, that she was the only woman to clear it. And then in Cincinnati, I was there for the second and third women to clear the finals course. But for a long time, Casey was the only one to hit the buzzer at the end of his 10 obstacle course. The only woman to hit a buzzer at the end of a 10 obstacle course. But yeah. But basically, they introduced her. They said how she was the only woman in before last week to clear the swinging frames and the pole grasper. And obviously, because they had it last week in the racing course, a lot of women clear it since. But for over 10 years, she had the only swinging frames and pole grasper clear of a woman. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going way too fast here, guys. Which is probably good, because otherwise the episode will take forever. But I'm gonna open this up. Well, stay cool for 2 weeks, even though I was locked outside. That's not bad. Yeah, I'm not giving that up. I was locked outside for 2 weeks. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, they did that stat. She gave some commentary on like how she felt when she cleared the course and stuff back in 2014, and how excited she was. And she also, when they were racing, they asked her if you should look at your competitor, and she said, yeah, you definitely should look at your competitor. I think you should too, to know where they're at. But I also think, because I like because in my running stuff, cross country and track, my mentality is to not look back too much, because if you look back, it's kind of a sign of like, not weakness, but like struggling. So if you just keep going ahead and run your own race, it's kind of better. But in this race, I kind of get the point of looking back. To me, if they're in my peripheral vision, like if they're, well, I don't know how to describe it, but if they're here, obviously, or if they're like kind of to my sides, I can do it. But I'm not gonna like turn my head like this in order to see it, like an owl. I just, don't look too much back. But definitely you can take a glance like this to see where people are at on a ninja course. But that strategy was interesting to me, because I think about that a lot in my strategy of running, and just also, I guess, if I was a ninja racer. But I haven't raced anyone ninja yet. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, so Casey was there to narrate, or not to narrate, but to commentate on Isabella versus Jessie. And Isabella won it. She had two hands on the same monkey bar and the floating monkey bar. She was kind of like this. She's holding the other bar with her, well, I don't know which hand it was, but she was holding the other bar with the other hand, and which is a bad place to be, because you kind of have both hands on the same spot, and you're kind of trying to clutch the one bar while you're hanging onto the other. But she was able to get back from that, and she cleared. And yeah, so that was good for her, and that was a good segment overall. It was good to see Casey back. I know people say like, oh, she's overhyped, but it's not really her fault. It's just that the show like blew her up a lot, because it gave them ratings, so they kept going with it. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's overhyped, but she's not that bad. I mean, as a competitor, she's good, and like the show just ran with it, and they still run with people when they like get into them and try to use them for ratings. So it happens. It happened to Jessie Graff, but to a much lesser extent, and Jessie also had more success afterwards, so it made more sense. So yeah, Casey was definitely like the one that got a lot of the blame for like being so well known in ninja, but it's kind of just because she like made history, so they kept going with it. But yeah, it's good to see Casey again. And I'm telling my grandma because she was like, "Oh, what's Casey do now?" I said she's like a WWE wrestler, and my grandma thought I was like pranking her. But then they showed after this, they showed her doing the wrestling like as an advertisement. So I was like, you know, confirm I'm not crazy, because my grandma was like, "How's she gonna be a wrestler?" But they did a little advertisement for that and to download Peacock for other shows. So good product placement by them. But yeah, then they did a fast forward of Donovan Mottola versus Kai Beckstrand. Kai won that one, unsurprisingly. You know, I mean, I like Donovan, but Kai is probably the favorite in that. I think seeding wise, he definitely is. Then they had Abby Clark versus Jason Behrens, and Jason won. And something I thought about when I saw this fast forward segment, both these races in the fast forward segment, is the fact that they usually will fast forward the less surprising results, which isn't too surprising in itself, because like, you know, they're gonna show the more upset races, and they typically won't show a race like, say if they showed Jason Behrens versus Abby Clark, I say there's a 90% chance that Abby Clark will win that if they show it in full, just because otherwise they wouldn't bother with it. They tend to show the ones that are either upsets or just very close, but they don't typically show the ones where you have like an assumption of who's gonna win, and that would be right. Because say if you had the first seed versus the 60th seed, like the best seed versus the lowest seed, if the best seed wins that race, they're probably not gonna show it because it's kind of like redundant, I guess, in their mind. So yeah, this fast forward segment kind of demonstrated that by having two of the less likely to win people be losing. It shows that they skip over the more inconsequential ones and the more predictable ones and show the more surprising / close ones. But anyway, that was like my shower thought when I saw that. And again, I've watched this a couple times, so I have a lot of thoughts going through it because I've seen it so many times. So hopefully I write too many notes, or this video may take a long time, but we'll see what happens with it. But then they had Ben Behrens versus Jason Behrens, which was the battle of the brothers. And kind of unsurprisingly, this was actually kind of what I would have predicted, but Ben won the race. Jason was 50 seconds faster than his previous run though, so they definitely helped each other go faster, which is another running strategy I think of in my races, just not ninja but running, is the fact that even if you don't win a race, you can still improve off the other person just by them being faster. You'll also go faster to keep up with them in a sense. So even if you lose, you still get some marginal benefit of just their speed encouraging you to go faster. That's another like mindset / just idea I have about running. So that's my second racing tip. I should make a racing tip segment of this, but yeah, I thought it was interesting to see how much improvement that was. It definitely proves that you gain a lot by racing with people that are maybe faster or more experienced than you. So that was cool to see. But again, I expected Ben to win that because he's older and I think faster before this. But they probably showed it because it was novel to have two brothers against each other. So they probably, even though it's kind of predictable, they still showed it because it was like an interesting matchup. So that's when they might show something that's more predictable. But usually, like I said before, they wouldn't show something that's as obvious of a winner, but they show it from time to time, which makes sense. But then they had Jamie Rahn versus Abby Clark, and they did show this one because it was an interesting one. Because when they got to the course, they said that Abby could play spoiler, because basically Abby couldn't win no matter what because she was too low in the scoring. But they said that she could play spoiler if she beats Jamie Rahn. She'd knock Jamie Rahn out and help Jason Behrens advance. Because Jason, if Abby Clark won, it would have been a tie between the scores, but Jason had the faster time. So if Abby beat Jamie, then he'd be tied with Jason, and then Jason would win the tiebreaker because he had a faster time, a faster clear time in another race. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. And when they brought it up, I had a feeling that would happen because they focused so much on it, and I was right. And Jamie Rahn ended up failing the last obstacle, and Abby was able to clear it. She was farther back, so they had a little bit of a build up, like, can she do it? So once Jamie Rahn, she was trying to, once Jamie fell, I said Jamie Rahn. Once Jamie fell, she was able to clear and help Jason move on. So I'm sure that was a good surprise for him that he was able to kind of get in after, even though he was not supposed to be, but like expecting to be out. So that's cool. That's kind of a cool thing. I'm glad they showed that. But yeah, spoiler alert. Not really a spoiler alert because this episode is 2 weeks ago already, so it's kind of the opposite of a spoiler at this point. But yeah, there's a spoiler in this segment, so that was a cool thing, and there'll be more of that in a minute. Then they had Jay Lewis versus Lucas Reali. Jay won. That was a fast forward. Then they had Jay Lewis versus Joe Morosky, and they did a whole thing of like Jay and Joe saying how they feel their odds are against the other, and Jay said that he thinks Joe has a good chance because he's so experienced, and Joe said it will kind of come down to we'll see who wins in the moment. And Joe fell on the monkey bars, and Jay was able to clear in 46 seconds, which is a very fast time, very good. But unfortunately, Joe failed the bars, and then he announced something that's very surprising, is that he's gonna retire after this season because he wants to spend time with his family and his kids and be more involved or more like there for his kids and family all the time. So that's very respectable, but at the same time it's sad to see after he's been here for 12 years / 13 seasons. So yeah, that's a surprising retirement. It was sad because he fell, so we thought he was out. But we're about to find out that he's not out yet. But at this point in time, it seemed like he was out. It was a surprising announcement. So yeah, that was very jarring because I'm used to seeing him on the show and he's always going for the victory. So, and unfortunately this season he can't really get like the stage 4 buzzer that he's always wanted because there's no stage 4. Unfortunately, as I said before, I wish there was. But yeah, long story short, there's not. So unfortunately, he's most likely out at this point in the episode, but we're gonna find out there's gonna be an upset in a minute. But yeah, either way, he can't climb stage 4, but he could win the season if he stays in the show. So yeah. Anyway, to the next run, which is a fast forward of the Classy Ninja, Donovan Vittori versus Jesse Graff. It was a race to beat RJ because they were going for the fastest third place on that course across all the different groups. So if either of them could beat RJ's time, which unfortunately I didn't write down, but if they could beat RJ's time, they would move on and knock him out. But neither of them beat it. So RJ, I believe, moved on at this point, which I'm very happy about because I like RJ. And I said last week he's a good, very good ninja and very good, I won't say friend, but very good, very supportive in the competitions. And I really want him to do well. So yeah. At least do better than he did in the Sasuke International competition because that was not his best competition. But yeah, no, I'm very glad that RJ is still doing well. But unfortunately, that might be at the expense of Jesse Graff and Donovan Vittori, who I also like, but it happens. Then they had Kai Beckstrand versus Isabella Folsom. This was also fast forward, by the way. And this was a seed race because they were both guaranteed to move on, so they're just going faster to improve their seed. Because if they finish faster, their seed will move up. And again, it's by seed for the next leg of the course. Will also be a seed thing, which will help determine your placement and all that. So this was just a run for experience and to get a better seed. And Isabella fell early, but Kai cleared in 44.09 seconds, which I believe is the fastest because he beat Jay's clear of 46 seconds. I think maybe there's more, but definitely up there if not the fastest. So yeah. Then they had Lucas Reale versus Rachel DeGuts. Rachel played spoiler in this case. Again, we had another spoiler because wait, let me get my details straight. If she beats Lucas in this race, she will not move on, but she'll knock him out in favor of Joe Morawski because Joe Morawski, I believe, had the faster clear time as a tiebreaker. So if she wins, then Lucas and Joe will be tied, and Joe will move on based on time as a tiebreaker. So they mentioned it again, so I was like, this might come into play here, or maybe it's like a red herring. But either way, I had a feeling that it might come into play, and it did because Lucas failed the floating monkey bars, and Rachel played spoiler by clearing them, and Joe moved on. And at the end, they told Rachel that she helped Joe move on, even though she was out. And Joe was very happy because he's kind of like a second chance after his retirement announcement to keep going. So now it's a public thing that he's retired. You know, I mean, this is filmed before, obviously, but this is a public thing that he's retired. So he gets to kind of compete all out now with the knowledge that he's retiring, with everyone having it. So that's kind of cool. So I'm happy for him that he's still in the game and has one more chance. So thank you, Rachel, for letting him stay in the game, even though I like Lucas Reale too. But, you know, Joe Morawski is leaving, so I'm glad he has one more chance at it. So that's cool. Then they switched courses again, which is the same course, but they switched the second obstacle from swinging frames to the devil steps, and the third obstacle from pole grasper to the green jump, which again, I think is both harder obstacles than the previous versions, which I think is kind of weird, but it doesn't really matter because it's the same course the same playing field for the people that are competing, so it doesn't really matter. As long as the later rounds don't have like one or the other, because that'd be unfair based on experience. But as long as they're playing on the same playing field, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, the first race on this course was Evan White versus Sam Folsom. It was neck and neck on the final grip of piston plunge, which is very exciting because if you're on the final grip of piston plunge, it's literally you just go to a platform which is an easy dismount and hit the buzzer. So it's very neck and neck at the end, and Evan was able to win, but by just barely. So that was a good race. Then they fast forward Hans Hertz versus Bray Weinacker, who are both younger competitors. I believe, I think Hans is a little bit older, but they're both very young. And they said that Bray is the tallest of all the finalists at 6 foot 4 inches, which is very tall. And Hertz won with a clear, and Weinacker failed the monkey bars. I resorted to just doing last names on this part of the paper because I ran out of space. So now I'm saying the last names because I'm reading it off the paper like that. But yeah, so they had a good run, but Bray Weinacker failed the monkey bars, and Hertz won the first race. Then they had David Wright versus Alex Nye, but what's weird about this course is the fact that it was the first course, they went back to the first course for his fast forward, which felt kind of sloppy because it's a fast forward, so it doesn't really like matter because it's just a little quick thing. But it still feels weird going like they just switched to the second course for the second half of the episode, but then they show one from the first course. It's kind of like weird, and it feels like there's more heats on the first course. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels like maybe they have 1 or 2 extra heats on the first course because they always switch to the second course a little bit after the halfway point. So I feel like there's more matchups on the first course. Maybe like maybe they had 60% on the first course and 40% on the second, or something like that. I don't know. But there are 3 more groups next week that have to compete, so those will probably all be on the second course. So maybe maybe it's even, but they're saving those for next week. I don't know. I can barely talk, guys. But yeah, so maybe they're saving the second course runs for next week. That's probably what it is. But it was either way jarring to go back to the first course like mid this segment. But it's just for the fast forward, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, they had David Wright versus Alex Nye. Nye failed the swinging frames, and David won. So he's up. And then Cole Elder versus Grant Cunningham. Cunningham failed the monkey bars, but he still won because Cole Elder failed the pole grasper, a third obstacle. So even though it wasn't a great run by either, Grant Cunningham still won just based on his opponent failing early. So yeah. Then they had Carson Williams versus Evan LaValle. Carson failed at the top of the double steps. He was reaching across to the second one. He just missed the grip. I think it was just a speed thing, like a speed mistake. Like he could obviously clear the obstacle on an easy playing field, but going fast, he just kind of overlooked it and fell off. So that's unfortunate, but he failed there. So LaValle won, and he did lose his perfect season though, because he failed the piston plunge. Up until this point, he hadn't fallen in at all this season, but on this one, he did fall in on the last obstacle, but he still won, so it's fine. He's still in good shape. So yeah. And at the end of the day, it's about winning the race, not about clearing the course. Even though clearing the course, in my mind, is the most important thing, it is about winning the race. So he still did well. And then Daniel Gill, and they talked about how Daniel Gill wrote a few books. He wrote 3 books. One's like a kid's book, one's a graphic, like a comic book, and the third is a autobiography about his experience on Ninja. So that's cool. I always think I should want to write a book, but I don't think I have the attention span for it, but it would be good in theory. That's why we get this instead, I guess, instead of my book. But yeah, that's a cool thing, I think. And then Carter Ray was his competitor. And what's interesting about Carter Ray is that he has 17 siblings. And here I thought I had 5. I mean, 4 and 5 including myself. I thought that was a lot, but 17 siblings is crazy. My grandpa had 14. My grandpa has 14 siblings, but like 17 siblings. Wow, especially these days, I feel like it's lower on average now. But 17 siblings is crazy. So that's cool. I mean, I don't know how you could manage that. I can barely manage 4 siblings, just living with 4 siblings. But good for him. That's pretty cool. Definitely, you have a lot of people to train with and keep you company. So that's cool. They both failed the piston plunge, but Daniel won by getting there first. So that's he's kind of the favorite, but it's also kind of like a thing of an older person versus a younger person. So he could go either way, but Daniel was still able to win it. So that's cool. I'm glad he's still hanging in there. Then they had a fast forward of Grant Cunningham versus David Wright. Cunningham won. And then they had Alex Nye versus Cole Elder. And Elder won, being the elder competitor. Stupid joke, okay. But yeah, those were the 2 fast forwards. Then they had Hans Hertz versus Evan White, and they did a profile piece on both of them because they're both friends. So they train together a lot, and they said there's kind of a serendipitous competition that they're actually competing against each other now. It's kind of like when the brothers compete. It's kind of an unlikely thing. So it's cool that they got to do that. It almost feels like they planned it, but obviously it's just a different seed, so it's not planned. But it does seem kind of like too good to be true that they ended up competing against each other. Probably not for them, maybe, because maybe they both want to move on, and this makes it harder. But still, like in theory, it's pretty cool. But yeah, they did a story on how they're friends, and they were both very back and forth. Like on the double steps, Evan White had a good skip across, like a faster skip across than Hans Hertz. But then the really impressive one to me was on the ring jump, when Hans Hertz like skipped the whole top half of the first one. He just went straight to the second ring, which is very efficient and very, it's not like a really tricky move, but the way he did that so like in the moment was very good. So I was impressed by that, and it helped him win. Wait, no, it didn't help him win. I'm sorry, I forgot who won. But they both made it to the end with a 0.2 second difference in time. The closest race, I believe, you can even see from the front on angle when you saw both courses like side by side. You saw how close it was in that perspective, and how they looked at each other at the end to see like where they're at. Which again is kind of another thing. Maybe they shouldn't do that when it's that close. But you guys want to see where they're at either way. But yeah. and Evan White won the race by 0.2 seconds. And maybe that little skip he did on the devil steps helped him. It was a very back and forth race. I thought it was cool, and very cool that after all the build up of them being friends and competing together in their own gym, it's cool that it was so close in the actual course. So they definitely push each other to go faster, I think. So that's really cool. Then wait, no, I was about to read the same line again because I can't keep track of where I'm at. But we're getting close to the end here, guys, thankfully, before my phone runs out of storage again. Then they had Sam Folsom versus Bray Wanacker. Sam won with a clear, and Wanacker failed the early dismount of the Floyd Monkey Bars. So he failed the Floyd Monkey Bars twice now. It's kind of funny because he almost got to the platform, but he fell backwards. It didn't matter because he lost the race already to Sam Folsom, and he probably wouldn't have gotten a fast enough time to move on with that race anyway. But he still made an effort for it, but fell, unfortunately. Then a fast forward of Grant Cunningham versus Alex Nye, the Ninja guy. Sorry, I made that nickname up. But then Cunningham, it was a close race, but Cunningham won. And then they had Cole Elder versus David Wright. And Elder lost. Why did I write lost instead? Why did I write who lost instead of won? That's confusing. But yeah, David Wright won that one, so good for him. Did I write Elder first or Elder lost? No, I wrote lost. Yeah, because he lost. I don't know why I wrote lost in that case though. But yeah, anyway. Then they had Evan Lavalley versus Daniel Gill. They said the battle of the good hair because one of them has a bun hair, and then Daniel Gill has a long flowing hair. Sorry, I'm describing it badly, but you can see why because I don't really have much to compare. But yeah, they said it's the battle of the hair, and it's another neck and neck finish with them both on the final steering wheel together before the end. Very close again, but Daniel Gill. No. Evan won in this case. Daniel won the previous one, but Evan won in this case. And that's good to see. Very, very impressive. And I feel like this course, the second course with the ring jump and the devil steps, I feel like it produces closer endings. Like in this episode, we've seen like 3 of those where they're on the final wheel together. I keep saying it in this review, and I noticed that like they're more close. I think this course is definitely the one that takes more time because like as I said, the obstacles are longer, and also because they said that this is. Later on in this review, I'm going to say that one of the people got under a minute on this course, and that's the fastest one yet, according to Matt. So it's definitely the longer course, but for some reason it's closer in the end, even though that doesn't make sense, because, a shorter course will have more close finishes typically. But in this case, the longer course does have some very close finishes, so I don't know what's up with that. I mean, it's not really a big sample size to be weird. It's just the fact that, like, it's funny that 3 of them on the longer course ended up being faster. Ended up being closer than on the shorter course, because you would think the shorter course, being like shorter course would have closer finishes, but this one seems to have more, even though it's a longer course. It's kind of like, to make comparison, it's kind of like the 100 meter would have more close finishes than the 5K. It's just because it's a shorter event. It's gonna be much closer and come down to much more shorter intervals or shorter. What am I talking about, guys? Shorter, not integers, but like. It's gonna be much closer, like come down to milliseconds instead of seconds, probably, for example, or seconds instead of minutes. But yeah, the point being, like, I keep going back to running today for some reason, but obviously it's kind of interesting that the longer course produces the closer finishes, because it should get more separated as it goes, but it actually doesn't seem to. So yeah, how many more times can I explain that, guys? But yeah, then they had a fast forward of Carson Williams versus Carter Ray, and they said how they're trying to beat McGrath's time of 1:17 from last week as the fastest third place finish, and they both tried, but they both failed, which means they're both out. So Carson and Carter are unfortunately out. The ones that both begin with a car are out. They're driving home like a car. But yeah. Then they had Bray Wanacker versus Evan White. Evan White was going to move on regardless. He was trying to improve his seating, whereas Bray Wanacker needed to beat James McGrath's time. But unfortunately, Bray fell early again, and he didn't beat James' time. And Evan didn't beat it either, but he still moved on, so he didn't improve his seed, but he still was able to move on nonetheless by his previous races, so that's fine. And then they had the last race of the night was Sam Folsom versus Hans Hertz, and they gave a story which I remember seeing before, but I don't think I was reviewing that season. But I remember seeing the story and thinking it was nice. It was Hans Hertz and his brother, who has I forget the name of it, but he has some disease where he's nonverbal, and I think they say chromosome deletion, so Hans says how he helps take care of his brother a lot, and how they work to get how he works with his brother and kind of does ninja with him, which I think is really cool. I think that's a good story. Like I say, I like when the stories tie into ninja, and in this case, I'm very happy to see that they it's such a positive in that case. So yeah, so Sam Folsom versus Hans Hertz. I kind of had a feeling when they showed the in-depth story of Hans that he might win the race, just the way they were showing it. And I was right in this case because it was pretty close, but Hertz pulled ahead and won. And Sam cleared. Hans was the one that cleared in under a minute. The first one on this course to clear in under a minute, which demonstrates how much longer this course is and proves my point that the course is tougher than the first course with the two other obstacles, the pole grasper and the swinging frames. So yeah, this is definitely a longer course, but he was able to get under a minute, the first one on this course. So that's pretty cool. And Sam was the best third place, which I think means he can move on if next week the people don't go faster than him. But there's still 3 more groups next week to beat him. So it's not guaranteed either way, but he has a chance in this case. So that's cool. And yeah, thank God I can't talk anymore. I guess I've been outside for 2 weeks. You can't blame me too much. My throat's gone. I've been knocking on this window for 2 weeks trying to get out of the car, or trying to get into the car, and now I'm trying to get out of the car. But yeah, so that's my excuse for that. Whether it's true or not, that's my excuse. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching the video. Sorry it's so late. I'll try to get locked on my car next week and do the review on time. Although I know episode 3 is already aired, or the finals 3 is already aired, so I should watch it maybe in the next couple of days and review it soon. So I'll be back kind of to speed, hopefully. I'm glad to do this review. It's right now, it's really late at night, but I'm trying to film it anyway just to get it done, because otherwise I'd be more behind. And I'm not gonna do this again, like I said before, because it's just too long. But I do want to at least get through this season to finish it. So yeah, I definitely want to get through these last couple episodes in a decently timely manner, just so I'm not like a hot mess. But probably happen regardless, but we'll do our best. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Until next time, I will see you. Peace out.